And I did. So there you go. I once had a guy drive me nuts about the story he had, and I didn't like the story at all, but I'm rather a polite type of individual, so I let him ramble on and ramble on about his book. And just as I was about to say to him, when's it getting published, which is the line, right? That's the line you get hit with. And when is it being published? I just as I spent half an hour listening to this crap, another guy who was also listening said, "How much have you written of this book?" And he looked a little guilty and said, "Well, I've only just got like an outline." "Where's the outline?" "Well, it's in my head." "Oh, so this story is not been put to paper," which is the cardinal sin. If you're writing a book, put the damn thing on paper. Not telling people, but having written a book. One of my students, when I mentioned France, is doing a short movie. And Yahoo, she's moving back to Toronto from London, England. She is a video editor extraordinaire. Like, if Baby Duck could swim, she would learn that she knew of this coming out of her mother's womb. That's how good she's at it. And so I had this idea, because I'll be honest with you, I do write some comedy. I have for a long time, and yes, I do publish that. But it's the novel, not. That's the real key. It's the novel. And I said, listen, you're coming back to TO, which is short form for Toronto. She said, yes, I told you I was coming back. I said, well, listen. I outlined the story for her. She went, that sounds really good. It's a 20-minute short. And she liked the idea. So I said to her, well, listen, would you produce it? And she went, I'm going to get back to you on that. Let me think about it. I got a lot on my mind right now because I'm moving back to TO. And I said, that's okay. I have the idea in my head, and I'll just work away at it. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm just going to sit down and write the script. It's a 20-minute script. That's not like 80,000 words or anything. It's a script. So I'm going to write it all out because I have done a fair bit of that. I will admit to you, I've done some of that. Written some stories, all shorts, like comedian stuff. And usually they've been taken really well. I mean, they seem to like my sense of humor. Mind you, there's many who do not like my sense of humor, including my own son, who's made a request for me to stay off of Facebook because of my insane sense of humor. And I just told him, like, hit the road, Jack. Because as much as he thinks it's insane, there are a number of people who just love it. So, and they say, I wish I could hear it read more. And I indulge them because I write more. And mind you, it's comedy writing, which is completely different. Now, see, comedy writing, they say, is the hardest writing to do. The hardest. Well, that may be so. That may be so. Comedy writing may be the hardest to do. However, I don't find it that hard because, again, of my insane sense of humor. which has been called insane to my face. And I say that's okay. Everybody has the same sense of humor. But and kind of what I write is called situational humor. In other words, it's people who get themselves in the most screwed up situation, always from their own stupidity. That's a recurring theme in it. Always. Never anything else but their own stupidity. Or lack of understanding the circumstances they're in, or something like that. I used to write a lot of that make believe. I haven't done any since I came home, though. Mind you, I've been doing a lot of drawing because it was uncomfortable to draw in Belize, kind of. Except if you were doing it outside and in the breeze. Like this kind of drawing would be uncomfortable because you have to be indoors, kind of, and it's hot and it's humid and there's doctor flies and mosquitoes and whatever. So, you add all that up and you go, I think I'll do it. I'll just do another painting. Paintings take a lot more time. Yeah, more planning, bigger framing. What are you going to put in the frame? Whole 9 yards. So, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking by it. That's exactly what happened. Exactement what happened. It is exactly what happened. Okay, we're going to move up with a little eyebrow break right now. Just a eyeball break. God, I just realized it. There. Went right through the whole highlight. God. Thinking. I know what I was thinking about. It was the Piri Reis map. That's what I was thinking about. Jesus. Jesus. As they say in Ireland, non-stop, even on the radio. Jesus. 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 Look at you. Jesus, what have you done, lad? What have you done, Bio? Jesus, look at Jesus, look at you. What they do? What they say? And I gotta admit, it's funny when they say it. I love the accent. And having had many, many Irish friends over the years, I have developed a pretty, what can I say? I've developed a healthy respect for their humor. Some of the stuff is just hilarious. Mind you, they are hard people. Hard people that know real well. Because the entire, if you're Irish, please don't take any offense to this. I mean it in the most well, I don't mean loving way, but I mean like, I mean it not as a criticism by any means. But they wear their hearts on their sleeve. Like all you got to do is go to an Irish pub on New Year's Eve and wait for them to start singing Danny Boy. You'll see exactly what I mean. People who have never been in Ireland in their entire lives but are Irish will just start tearing up. Oh, Danny Boy. The pipes are cold. Yeah, man, something to see. But again, I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Simply very emotional, and maybe that's good. And they do still speak Gaelic, which is kind of good. And being 5% Irish, I think it was 5% anyway. Now that I know my ancestry, that I still am mystified about it. That being said, now that I know my ancestry, I do have some Irish in me. I'm not very sentimental. I don't think. Maybe I am. I don't think I am, but maybe I am. Yeah, maybe I am a bit sentimental. But the German in me pushes it out of the way and says, don't be an idiot. Practical. That's what we need to be. And that's basically what half of me is. German. Joyman. Always wondered why I bought that BMW. Now I know. Many years ago I had a BMW 320i. Wow, what a machine that was. Broke my heart to sell it. I got it. But sell it I did because the practical side of me said, no, 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 no. This is a game. What was the game? The game was their repairs. For any reason, anything went wrong on a BMW, you could almost take out a loan to get it fixed. And after I had a few repairs, I went, this is nuts. I can remember taking it to other mechanics who go, oh no, we don't touch a BMW. Oh really? Okay. He goes, yeah, well if you drove a Chevy, you'd fix this for $139. But because it's BMW, oh, I get so sick to hearing that stuff. Oh my god. Yes, yes, yes. So I sold it. Man, was it fun to drive. You could take a corner at 70 miles an hour. It was unbelievable. It wasn't a big car, but oh, what a car. And over the years, I've been tempted to take a look and sort of wistfully look at them. Then the German in me rears his head and says, don't be an idiot. You've been down this road before. Yes, it's true. Don't be a fool. And yeah, I know they came out with. I think everybody figured that out at one time because they started coming out with, you know what? We're going to cover every repair for you for 5 years or 4 years or whatever the hell it was. Anyway, I guess other people finally started doing the same as me and said, no, no more. I've had enough. Otherwise, why would they do that? That's what I figured. But you see they're doing okay. And now that Tesla's the only car company that has a car in space, well, geez, I'm just saying that and I'm thinking, I wonder if I could. He's the only guy who has a car in space, but he's not the only guy who had a vehicle. And the reason I say that is I just remembered that on one of the moonwalks they had like a dune buggy. And it's still up there on the moon. Of course they left it behind. How will they get it back? There's no Greyhound buses. There's no Greyhound buses on the moon that anybody's aware of. If there is, the original story I was telling you about extraterrestrial, that would be neat. Not only would they find out there's extraterrestrials, but they found out that they own Greyhound. Who knew? Anyway. That being said, Lottie. That being said, dune buggy went up there. But I'll tell you about that moonshot. The one, or not the moonshot, the thing that Tesla did. For me, the most impressive part wasn't the rocket, wasn't the fact they got it off the ground and they got it up into the orbit and all that stuff. No, 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 no. That wasn't the part that really got me. What got me was the landing of the booster rockets. Man alive. Now that was something to. Because, I never even paid attention. I just thought, oh yeah, they'll burn up in the atmosphere, or they'll become more space junk, or they'll just land in the ocean and sink, and that's the end of that. But no! No, 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 no. They landed perfect. Landed perfectly on their tripods. I went, damn! That is a piece of engineering. That is definitely a piece of it. That was really, really made me sit up and go, wow, that, that is spectacular. And the fact that Elon Musk is from Africa and he immigrated to the States from South Africa, and he doesn't fit into their immigration plans is just icing on the cake. Now an American citizen, oh yeah. So you wouldn't want Elon Musk then in your country? No, no. Oh, that's too bad. Because he's a smart guy. Probably creates thousands and thousands of jobs. But you don't want him, eh? Okay. Does anybody else want him? Well, I know if it was Canada, we would have taken him. He didn't want to come to Canada. Wanted to go to the U.S. It really disturbs me. Hate racism being displayed. Really. All by a guy whose wife is from some little country in Europe. I forget which one, like Slovenia or something. I mean, are you kidding me? What's wrong with your brain? Let's not get started. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. We won't go there. Mind you, she's a fine looking woman, I gotta admit. Why, if you had a woman that looked like that at home? I'll just leave it unsaid. Like, are you out of your mind? Answer that. Are you? Are you out of your mind? Yeah, you are. Oh well, I might have just lost a viewer over that, but that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I will stand up. Fine, look. You know what? I gotta admit, I really feel. I really do. I don't know her. Don't get me wrong. She's the worst person who ever lived for all I know. Who knows? I don't know her at all, so I can't say. But I feel sorry for her. I really do. My God. How humiliating. God. But, hey, to everyone's life, little rain, fall. Is that the story? Life finds us a lot of rain. But I have a sneaking suspicion if she could dump that marriage, she'd be gone in a split second. If she could do it. Obviously, thought that through and she can't. Man, humiliating. Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa. You want to hear a guy who can really listen to Nat King Cole? Man, man had a voice like velvet. Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, your eyes. Mona Lisa. I sing when I'm drawing when I'm happy, and I'm happy when I'm drawing. So I sing a lot. Usually to myself, but now I'm sharing it. If you prefer not to have me hear me sing, just say, please, I'm begging you, please, get some music on or something. And I'll understand. I will not take offense, because the only person I sing for, with no pretension. Okay, that's the underneath, over the shoulder Bit of armor, a little bit of armor on his arm there. That's the way I like it. Great part. Da, 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 da. Mona Lisa, yeah. Mona Lisa. Mona. I don't really know who Mona Lisa was. The French called her the Gioconda. They kind of know, they think they know who she is, but they're nobody sure. And the mystery of her, really, is simply that Leonardo had it in his possession when he died, and it had been finished for a while. And so, what was it about the portrait that spoke to him so well? And really, from an artistic point of view, the Lady in the Ermine is a better painting. It is. And they know exactly who that is. Cecilia something. Some mistress of some big royal back in the Middle Ages. Not the Middle Ages. 15th. Well, the 16th. Anyway, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But again, they know who that is, but they don't know the Mona Lisa for sure. There's some great, very clever people out there who have sort of, they think, tracked her down, who she is, who she may be. And maybe they're right. I hope they are. I mean, it doesn't really matter, frankly, because we have the picture. But that being said, there's a picture, or there's a program on PBS called Fake or Real or Fake. Something. Anyway, what they do is they find pieces of art that they proclaim maybe by a very famous artist, and then they attempt to prove that it is. Well, last night they had on Gainsborough. Two paintings, Gainsborough. Two. One was authentic. Well, I'll explain. Gainsborough was a guy who would work out everything on a paper sketch, on paper, manufactured paper. And what he would do, he would then sort of put it on a support and then paint right over top of it. Now, needless to say, Gainsborough was probably one of the premier portrait artists of all time. He did Blue Boy. Yeah? Everybody's heard of Blue Boy. Anyway, famous in his lifetime. Famous, famous, famous. As a portrait artist, I might add. So the question is, was this painting he had done, was it a Gainsborough? Well, they didn't know he'd done it, but the question was, is it a Gainsborough? And these people try to find out if there's historical evidence and written evidence that yes, indeed, it would be a Gainsborough. Well, they found out that one of the paintings, and this is what caught a ton of paintings, um, in the last 25, 30 years. And I mean a ton. I don't mean a few, I mean a ton. A ton of paintings. Two things. Two things that definitely mess up the porter's work. And you know what those are. If you don't know, that's fine, because I'm going to tell you anyway. And if you do know, it's fine, because I'm still going to tell you, because other people may not know. What it is two things. Titanium white, okay, and cobalt blue. Those two colors. Now why, you may ask, is that such a big deal? Well, titanium white is a 20th century invention, and cobalt blue wasn't used before, say, 1890, because there's aluminum in cobalt blue. So you had to smelt aluminum, which was smelted at such incredibly high temperature that there was no ancient aluminum. That's why they never used it, because you couldn't get the temperatures hot enough to smelt it. Well, when they did get the temperatures that hot, blast furnaces and all that stuff, in the late 1900s, the byproduct was cobalt blue. Now, if you take a spectrograph and you analyze a painting and you find you've got titanium white in it and cobalt blue, sorry, not ancient, not old, not nothing. It's a copy or a fake. Take your pick. So remember those two colors. So what happens? They have the landscape by Gainsborough, and they take it for the spectrograph, and cobalt blue. It's not old. Sorry. Not. But the guy insisted he knew a Gainsborough when he saw one. So, what to do? So what they did is they assumed that Gainsborough had made the sketch, and it had sat around for 100 and some odd years. And somebody got the sketch, took it to an artist, and the artist painted over the sketch like Gainsborough would have. And now they said it's partially done by Gainsborough. Really? Let me ask you, look around your house and see what's been hanging around in the closet for 100 years. Plus. And somebody goes, you know, I could make that look like a Gainsborough. And she wasn't real close, by the way. Not real close. So I'm unconvinced, even though it's listed on their website as found, found Gainsborough. Sorry. Nope. The cobalt blue is just too hard to discount as being a Gainsborough. I'm sorry. I'm sure it was a very nice person who did it, but it's not a Gainsborough. I'm sorry, it is not. You can call it anything you want, but it's not a Gainsborough. And part of the problem with Gainsborough is there's no literature, so to speak, like letters and stuff. Because what happened is, when he died, his wife, not being somebody who was particularly enamored with the arts, took all his letters and basically threw them in the trash. So you have lots of letters from him, but you don't have any letters to him or correspondence, anything like that. So there's no hints anywhere. Oh, I was up and said so and so, and I painted the so and so, and there's none of that. So you're really, really at a loss when it comes to Gainsborough. So it all comes down to science to really authenticate a Gainsborough. Now the second painting is very mysterious to me. The reason I say that is that the coat of the fellow that was painted in the background, I would have to say, as far as I'm concerned, it certainly looks like and is a Gainsborough. Brush strokes, everything is right. And it was proclaimed a Gainsborough, a found Gainsborough, this portrait, of the mayor of some place called Sudbury or something, Britain. However, if you look at the the, the portrait itself, the skin, the face, man, unless Gainsborough was coming off a bender or something, it just does not. It does not scream Gainsborough. It's just not done well enough. I mean, you look at the Gainsborough portrait and you can go, oh God, look at the skin tone. Look at that. Oh. And that's exactly the reaction you'd have if you see one. But this one, now they made an excuse for the lack of visual clarity on the face. Some of the pigments. And then that's kind of when I knew they were lying to me. They said, yes, well, so years of cleaning had taken a layer of paint off. Really? I don't think so. Not a varnished painting. No, 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 no. And the varnish is still on it. No, 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 no. What I think happened, it was an unfinished painting by Gainsborough. And maybe Gainsborough had sketched out the face. So it was, he'd done it, the jacket and all. They did all that stuff. The collar, the buttons, all the detective work was done. But I don't think it was a Gainsborough. I think maybe the jacket was Gainsborough, but not the portrait. Somebody else did the portrait. But they proclaimed it a Gainsborough, which, well, whatever. But they didn't do the guy Gainsborough any favors, because anybody who's a portrait artist looks at it's going to say, "You got to be kidding! What happened? Was this done on his deathbed or something?" Or that's the kind of reaction I had. I went, "No way! It just wasn't good enough." I mean, it was good enough for like maybe an artist who lived in the area, a guy who was a professional, knew what he was doing, but it just did not, and I repeat, did not have the quality of a Gainsborough. So they proclaimed two found Gainsboroughs, fake or oh God, I had it in my head there. Fake or whatever it's called. And last night I think they got it wrong. And I have to admit, they don't get it right a lot. They don't. But this time, I don't know. It was a bit of a stretch for me. But needless to say, they have found paintings like that. And it was listed as an unknown artist for years and years and years and years. And, part of the reason it was listed as unknown artist was the fact that it just didn't reek of Gainsborough. It didn't. It wasn't until these this television show from Britain got involved that they wanted to prove or disprove that this was a Gainsborough. Well, I don't think they did either. So you can watch it. It's on PBS, and it's from Britain. So if you're in Britain, you can watch it. They probably have reruns all the time, but it's not over here in North America. They have it on PBS. Fake or Fortune, I think it's called. Maybe that's what. But the guy was beside himself. I know Gainsborough. I know this is a Gainsborough landscape. I know. Well, okay, he knows. But he blew it. Not that time he didn't. So they made up a story. Oh, it was the sketch. Didn't I tell you? No, it's a sketch, and then somebody else painted over top. Are you kidding me? You're gonna put that down as a Gainsborough? Be ashamed of yourself. I mean, really. Really. You are kidding me. Surely you jest, young man. Surely you jest. Well, they weren't jesting. They were not. They were not jesting. No, they weren't jesting at all. I know I killed my okra over here. I think I'll zip into some cream. How are we doing? Oh, we have time. So, we're going up here. Here, like this. Now, how the hell did I do that? Should be this. I swear to you, when I sketched this that day with the airbrush problem I had, my mind was somewhere else because, man, it's not cream, it's sable. We were sorting pencils today, Scott and I'm telling you, going through colors, and some colors were identical, except for the fact they changed the color of the barrel. Now, what's an artist to do? Like, an artist like me, who relies on the color of the barrel when I'm selecting colors to use. What are we to do? That only tells me that there's some quality control issue. I know, I'm not going to get into Prismacolor. Don't get me started. Just don't get me started. Prismacolor. I mean, sometimes I feel like Rodney Dangerfield, like an artist. I don't get no respect. None. No respect. No respect. I don't get any respect. I'm an artist, but I don't get any respect. In case you don't know who Rodney Dangerfield is, that was a comedian, and that was it. I don't get no respect. Nothing. He had a line for everything. And he always had wife jokes. Yeah, I took my wife to the ocean and somebody walked up to me and said, "What'd you use as bait?" That was Rodney. But he was a funny guy and he made it big time. But it was a different time, different humor, different time. But that being said, he was a pretty funny guy. He has some really good jokes. He had perfect delivery. That was his thing. You couldn't deliver a joke better than Rodney D. He was like the king of delivery. But anyway, here is what I mean by that. Let's say you are a carpenter. Yeah, a carpenter. And for years, you have bought one kind of tool. And you're a professional carpenter. And every time the tool wears out, which of course tools do, no question about that. And every time it wears out, well, you go, that's okay. I'll just go get another one. I'm a carpenter and I need another one, so that's my job. That's what I do. I'm going to get another one. Makes perfect sense, correct? Okay. You get to the store, and what do you find out? It says on it XYZ, a very respectable company. Same one you've used all your life. And what happens? Yeah, I know. I'm close to my painting with glass or water, and I'm going to spill it, but it's okay. I live dangerously. Anyway. So you say, and you bring it home, you plug it in, you use it for 15 minutes, and it breaks. You go, oh, well, it can happen to any tool, correct? So you take it back, and you exchange it, and you bring it home, you use it for 15 minutes, and it breaks. You go, what the hell's going on? You take it back, and the guy says, well, yeah, they used to be made in the good old US of A. Don't you know? But they moved all their manufacturing to, I don't know, Sumatra. And it looks the same, everything's the same, but it's made in Sumatra. Oh, it is. Okay, well, if it's made in Sumatra, that can only mean one thing. They're not making it as well as it did before. You go, I've been using this tool for like 30 years. What's going on? Don't they care about me? The carpenter? Who's doing a professional, uses it as a professional job? Needs this tool? Needs it on a daily basis? And I'm messing around? What? What am I doing? What are they doing to me? Well, that's exactly what I feel about Prismacolor. Yes, Prisma. Use the tool for donkey's years. Donkey's years. Everything's going good. Still have the original ones. No question about it. One problem. They moved their manufacturing and their quality, although they still are very, very good quality pencils. They do what you want, but they break. And even though they were known to be breakable, they don't break like they used to. They break way more. And not only I'm mad, I'm really mad. Because there's no reason. There is no reason. Yeah, well, yes, there is a reason. You save money. And who do you save money for? We save money for stockholders. Wonderful. Short-term gain. Wow, I just made 10% of my stock this year. Yeah, but will you make it next year and the year after and the year after? When people get around and say, well, it ain't like it used to be. And carpenters start saying, no, don't buy those tools. They're made in Sumatra and they suck. Now, if you're from Sumatra, I'm just making that up, so don't take any offense. Okay. So, what do? Well, short-term gain, long-term pain. And the trouble is, as I see it, is that most companies are doing this. And yeah, shareholders are going, yes, yes, keep up the good work. Oh, God, we love you. We made 10% on our portfolio this year. Fabulous. But when you look at what like you're supposed to look at if you're investing, like a long-term investment, and you find out that you made a really bad mistake 10 years earlier by moving it to Sumatra because you lost all your customers, do you still think you made a good? Do you still think it was a good idea? Or would you give back your 10% to say no? Just keep making it in the United States. Um, we'll make our money back on our long-term investments, just like we thought we would when we invested in your company. My guess is most people who are long-term investors would say, no, don't do that, because it'll end up I'm losing money. And guess what? That's exactly what is happening. It's happening with so many companies, or worse, even worse than that. The company will say, well, buy the name. Do you think Singer sewing machines are made by anybody from Singer? No. They just bought the name. Hell, I even saw a commercial on the TV and it said, yeah, this little doodad, you can trust. Bell and Howe. Bell and Howe? What are they making these doodads for in these infomercial things? Well, Bell and Howe no longer exists. Somebody bought the name. It was like when I was in Cuba and my friend's wife walked into the store and things were, like for Cuba, they were a little bit pricey, I thought, considering what they wanted in U.S. Well, not U.S. dollars, but their equivalent. Um, and I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, and she said to me, "Oh, absolutely. This is United Colors of Benetton." And I said to her, "You do know that United Colors of Benetton have been out of business for probably 10, 15 years." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, they went bankrupt. They're no longer a company." Yes, but it says right up here, United Colors of Benetton. I said, "Yeah, they're just using the name." And who's going into Cuba and saying take that down? Nobody. So I said, like, even though it says it, it doesn't mean anything. So I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't pay that for it. They're treading on dumb tourists thinking that United Colors of Benetton is still around because they used to do tons of commercials, right? And they're charging everything more by like 50% than you can get anywhere else in Old Havana. Don't buy it. And her husband came in. Said, what's going on? I said, well, I'm trying to tell her the United Colors of Benetton no longer exists. He goes, no, they went bankrupt. He says, well, look at the store we're in. He looks up. There's no United Colors of Benetton. I said, exactly. But he says to her, no, you're not buying it here. This is fake. Fake, 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 fake. So then she says, but I like it. And he goes, well, if you want to buy it, I don't care really, because it really wasn't that much money. But she said, make sure nobody, but nobody, thinks you bought it the United Colors of Benetton, because everybody who knows anything about, sweaters and whatnot, or the hell they were, knows that they've been in business forever. So this is what he got her on, which I thought was so smart. Oh man, this was a good line. He goes, but you know what'll happen? If you buy this and you wear it at home, people are going to think you bought it in the thrift store. The thrift store? Yeah. Because they know they've been gone for 15 years. Somebody's had it in a closet, gave it away. You bought it for $2 in a thrift store. Exited the store. Zoom. Gone. And that was Earl. Last night I told you about my friend Earl. That was Earl. Man. Did he know? Did he know? But sometimes the opposite happens. Let me tell you this one. This is a weird one. So we're in, I was in Belize for almost 4 years, 3.5 years. So we're driving out of Belize City, Earl and I and a couple of friends. And lo and behold, what do we see? On the side of the road, there's like a tarp, only it was bigger than a tarp. It was like a little tent thingy, whatever, but it was big, 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 big. And it had on clothes, and stuff like that. I said, oh God, we haven't gone for lunch, but let's just stop for a few seconds, take a quick look, and just see what they figuring. What the hell? So it was close to the restaurant, so we stopped and looked in. So I'm a big guy, so I head for the you're way too big to be even looking at clothes section. And Earl, who was not as big as me, but he was a big guy, he came with me. And we're looking at clothes, and I start seeing these shirts, all in my size. I went, Jesus, they look really good. So I'm thinking, I didn't even know there was a dry cleaner in Belize, because I never saw one. Going, what the hell is this? So then I take a closer look. And what they've got, it was all Ralph Lauren stuff. So the quality was there. And it was real. You buy a Ralph Lauren shirt and you get an extra 2 buttons on it, and the extra tags and all this stuff, and all that stuff. And you can just tell that it's good quality because of the fabric and whatnot. I go, this is Ralph Lauren stuff. And he goes, yeah, I know. And it's unbelievably priced. I said, well, let's go ask the guy. So I saunter up to the guy. And I say, listen, where do you get the clothes? He goes, oh, only from U.S. Only U.S. clothes. We carry nothing. Everything's U.S. clothes. I said, well, where did you get the Ralph Lauren stuff? He goes, who's that? Like literally, he goes, who? Like, what? And so I look at Earl and I go, So how do you do it? He goes, oh. So we start talking to the guy, he figures we're buying a lot of stuff, so we're buying stuff. So he says, well, what we do is all of us, so there's a whole bunch of them all through the country, right? And they buy containers of clothes. And I go, okay, but that still doesn't explain clothes that have never even been worn. When you get a shirt and you open it up, it's never been worn. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I said, like, how does that work? He goes, well, there's a company, or whatever company it was, I don't know, but they said, like, there's companies that supply this to us. And I go, really? So then it dawned on me what was going on. It was last year's stuff, and they had tapped into it. And, last year's style is this year's no style. And not so much style, colors. But, I'm in Belize. What do I care? I just want a shirt that will last. So he goes, yeah, that's what we do. Okay. And so what happens is, I go over and so now I'm looking at the prices. Well, let me tell you, I walked in there. Oh, sorry, they were long sleeve as well. Now remember, we're in Belize. We are in Belize, so it is hot. You do not wear long sleeve shirts there. You just don't. Nobody does. At least I don't think of anybody who did. But anyway, because it's hot. So I think I bought like 6 shirts, all excellent quality shirts. The little guy, he was as happy, and Earl bought like 4 or 5 or something, and we cleaned them out of good quality stuff. And he was happy. Made a huge sale for them, like a lot in one day. So what did I do? I took it to this is Belize now we're talking about. I took it to my trusty tailor. Now this is the deal. Before you think that, well, okay. But here's the deal. I mean, why even there was a second's hesitation, I don't know. But anyway, you could go into Mexico and for like $15 for, say, 3 yards of material, you could buy enough material in every conceivable pattern known to man on the planet. I mean that this was not a problem. And they just sold it in bolts. You tell you what, bolt of that, or not a bolt, but 3 yards of this, 3 yards of that. So the average price for 3 yards for a shirt, it would cost about, in Mexican would be like, $12, say. Okay? So you had really good material, though. This was not, you weren't buying stuff that was like on the bargain bin. This was really, really good quality cotton. So I'm impressing that upon you because the price was really good. So if you're ever in Acapulco and you just want to buy, well, it wouldn't work anyway. You'd have to have it made here. But anyway, so then I had my trusty tailor who was in the town I lived in, that I brought him all my business, everything. He was a very, very nice man. And he was which I didn't know anything about, and I still really don't know anything about it, was a Seventh-day Adventist, so he was always closed on Saturday, which was weird to me. He was always open on Sunday, so it was a place if you had to go into town, like the grocery stores would be open. But if you went into town, you could he'd be there, and it wouldn't be busy. So I go into him. He'd make me a shirt for $12, believe. That's right. That's what I said. 12. Oh, sorry. Oh, Ghost. How you doing, buddy? I'm sorry. I just saw you. I just looked up. Oh no. Oh, it wasn't that long ago. Anyway, it's nice to see you. Is it early morning there, I guess? Yeah. No, it's Friday. Let's see. You are ahead of us, or you're home for the day? You must have just got home. Anyway, so what I'm saying to you is that this guy would make you a shirt made to measure. He took it, with the tape measure, made to measure for $12, Belize. How much is $12, Belize? $12, Belize is $6. Well, I was there for 3.5 years. I must have had 30 shirts made. Must have. All made to measure, best materials, every conceivable pattern and whatever I wanted, whatever I liked, whatever, anything. And not only shirts, he could make pants, he could make women's dresses, he could. Oh, he was a tailor. He could do anything. And he was a nice guy. I really liked him. Got along great. And all the time I was there, I went to him for every single bit of tailoring that was needed. So if I went over to Mexico and I found a pair of fantastic, like good quality pants, say, or shorts, wouldn't be pants, it would be shorts, like really good quality stuff, like Ace. I didn't even care what size it was. As long as it was too big for me, it was okay. And the reason I say that is because all I do, it's 3 a.m. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, tomorrow's Saturday. You guys aren't, you're not going to work tomorrow, are you? 3 a.m. It's Friday today. Well, it's Saturday where you are. It's 3 a.m. Saturday. Here, it's 9:17. You're 6 hours then. 6 hours. Okay. Well, I know England is 5 hours from us difference. You must be on the continent. Okay. Ah, okay. Yeah, I liked your stream. I dropped in and for a minute, but the day it's been snowing like crazy here, so I had to go out and I had to go in and do a few things, and I had to drive real careful because there's like 3 inches of snow coming down. And it's cold, cold, cold. How cold is it? Well, let me tell you, it's not that cold. It's about 20 degrees, 25 degrees. Oh, hold on. I'm doing Fahrenheit. You would be Celsius. I'd say it's about -6 Celsius, whatever that is. I think I saw -6. But that's how cold it is. That's so cold. So, I mean, that's not cool. I'll be honest with you, as a Canadian, I personally take great offense to other Canadians who say, oh, not Canadians who aren't born here, but Canadians who are born and bred in Canada who say, "Oh man, is it ever cold out? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Cold? This isn't cold. I can tell you it's cold. This is not cold." Anyhow, it's all relative. But see, I'm from Northern Ontario region. Northern Ontario is, oh, if you go, say, 4.5, 5 hours north of where I am here by the lake in Toronto, that's 5 hours north. So 300 miles north. You're not working tomorrow? Oh, good. Enjoy the day then, man. I'm working tomorrow. Well, I'm not working. I'm sorry. When I say working, when I say working, I don't mean working. Like I'm not laying bricks. But I've got 3 lessons to teach tomorrow. I teach on Friday and I teach on Saturday morning. So can't sit up all night and draw, which is a pity because I'm drawing tomorrow. And I think I told you I went to the ophthalmologist, the eye doctor. And I said, my eyes are starting to feel a little strained once in a while. She goes, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm an artist." She says, "Well, how long do you draw every day?" I said, "I don't know. Usually at least 5 hours." She goes, "And you're just telling me that you feel a little eye strain?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Jesus, man. This, like, that's not eye strain. That's, you like, that, that's nuts." I go, "Yeah, but I've been doing it for, like, my whole life." She goes, "Wow, incredible. Your eyes obviously can take it." I said, "Well, that's my point. I'm starting to feel a little eye strain." She goes, "Well, you know," she says, "your vision's 20/20 and you're this old." I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But he said, "Man, don't complain. Just look up once in a while. It'll help." And that's why I sort of like take my vape break. You know what I mean? Cold weather, Canadians are used to. Oh, yeah, yeah. Canadians are. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like wimps. Bunch of wimps. God, we didn't even think it was cold when we were kids until it got below 0 Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is. That's probably around -20 or something, or -10. No, yeah, maybe. I never figured out the metric. I don't know. And I never forgave our prime minister for moving us from Fahrenheit to metric because I know Fahrenheit very well, and all I know now is 20 degrees is 68 Fahrenheit, and 0 is 32. So anything around between that, I just don't have a clue. So I know it's lazy. I should have learned it. After all, it was only like 1972 when he did it. Yeah, well, I'm stubborn, right? I mean, what can I say? It's stubbornness. I know, I know, I know, I know. Anyway, it used to kill me, especially in Belize. Like, it would go down in January. Once in a while, the temperature would drop down to like, oh, maybe at the night or something. Once in a while, not very often. It might drop down in the middle of the night to like 68 degrees or something. And people will go, "Oh my God, I need a, next time I go home, I'm going to bring down an electric blanket. And I look and go, what? They go, oh, I froze last night. I said it was 68 degrees, which is 20 Celsius. I go, are you kidding me? And no, they weren't. Now, they were from California and Florida and places like that. I must admit, they weren't used to it. But I would just go like, oh my God. You don't know what cold is, man. You don't know cold. That's not cold. It's not. It's not cold. Yeah, I was on a cruise one time in the Mediterranean. And most of the help on those cruises are all Filipino. And each one's assigned. Like each person is assigned. Well, everybody who works in the boat kind of is Filipino. But what happens when you go into your stateroom, each one is assigned like 3 staterooms or something. So they make sure you got everything you could possibly ever need when you're, and then they want a tip when you leave, obviously, right? So they bend over backwards. So I'm up on the Lido deck, you know where the pool is, and I'm in my bathing suit. This is in the Mediterranean, mind you. I'm in my bathing suit, enjoying the sunshine, and I look up, and a guy brings me a beverage. You want something? I said, oh yeah, yeah. I'd like this, and he brings it to me. And then I notice he's wearing one of those fleece vests, fleece, like goose down things. And I'm sitting there in my bathing suit, as are like basically all the other people on that deck. I'm going, what the hell is going on? So when I get back up to the room, I asked the guy who takes care of our room, I said, why are the people serving up on the Lido deck dressed, have like goose down vests on? He goes, oh, sir, so very cold. And I go, cold? Man, we're in the Mediterranean. It's like, I don't know, 75 degrees or more? He goes, oh, because it's never like that cold in the Philippines. I went, oh, I get it. You're not used to that temperature. You're used to like 90 all the time. And he goes, yes, this is very cold. Very cold for us, sir. And I went, I get it. So I thought about that when the Californians would say to me, oh man, it can't get any colder. I'm supposed to be in a warm climate. I go, well, it only lasts a day or 1 day of the year. See, I look at the weather in Canada now as free air conditioning because you have no idea what I paid for air conditioning. You don't have heat, but by God, you better have air conditioning. So when you go inside, you can get out of the heat. Because holy cow, how hot was it? Well, let me tell you, it was hot. It was so hot, I used to carry extra bottles of coolant for the air conditioner in the car, just in case some little pinhole would arrive or something and it would leak out, just in case. Because I never wanted to feel that. But it takes a while, but you do get acclimatized to it. You really do. Funny. You can get used to anything. When I first got there, I just about died. I went, oh my God. This isn't even hot. It's torture. I'm in paradise, but it's really hell. So first thing I did is ran out and got myself some air conditioning, the big unit, to cool the place down. And then you have to pay for the air conditioner, right? So not the air conditioner, but the power. But you know what to me, they always said to me, like, are you nuts? I mean, you've got air conditioning on all the time. I go, yeah. As well, doesn't it cost you a fortune? I go, define fortune. And they would tell me, oh, cost same for everybody, so you must cost you this much to air conditioning all the time. And I'd say, yeah. And they'd say, that's what I'm saying, costs a fortune. I go, listen, buddy, where I come from, you have no idea what they charge you for electricity in Ontario, which is the highest price for electricity in all, I didn't say some, all of North America. That's what we pay. Why? Because we had politicians who were as crooked as a dog's hind leg. We didn't know it at the time. Let me put it to you this way. We paid over $1 billion of taxpayer money in Ontario. This is no joke. $1 billion in taxpayer money to, I think it was 2 companies that were going to build 2 new natural gas plants for generating electricity. Or where they were building them, the people didn't really want them. So it was a year where the political, like you were voting on it stuff. So the party that did it caved and said, okay, we're not going to build the gas pits. Well, nobody really had a problem with that. I mean, if it's that big a deal to these people, put it in the middle of nowhere. Like, who cares? Just send a pipeline into where you need it, and that's the end of it, right? Like, Ontario is a big place. It's like Texas. But anyway, then we find out after the prime minister, the first minister, resigns from the party that's been leading the province for, like, I don't know, like for 10 years or whatever. He resigns. And then we find out why. He signed off to the 2 companies that were putting in these gas plants and said, that's okay. We don't want them built here. So I'm going to pay you the full amount like you built them anyway. How much was that? $1 billion. Now his chief of staff, after like 6 years of court wrangling, is actually going to jail. But not the premier. Oh no, not him. But the guy who was his, his senior advisor, he's going to jail. But where's the $1 billion? Gone. That's why I didn't mind Belize, because at least when they were stealing from you, it was right in front of your eyes. You could see it. In Canada, they do the same thing, only you don't find out about it until something really big happens. Then you find out about it. This happened like in 2013 or something. And I'll tell you, if they think they're ever getting a vote out of me again, if they got a lot of, it's going to be a frosty goddamn Friday. If they ever think I'm ever going to vote for them again. Anyway, $1 billion. So these companies, now let me guess. Premier of Ontario makes about, I don't know, a couple $100,000 a year. How much do you want to bet me he's living in like in a $10 million house? How much do you want to bet? That's the problem. Nobody ever looks. Okay. Oh man, I am just like that with some stuff I just don't want to learn, but it's world easier if I have learned. But it would be easier if I learned. Yeah. When I came from summer, it is really hot. Wow. 40 degrees? And minus 15 to minus 20? Where the hell are you, in Siberia or something? That's unbelievable, Ghost. Wow. I can't even. Oh yeah, I'd be in 40-degree weather sometimes in Belize. Yeah, I know how hot that is. It's so hot you don't even want to walk on the sidewalk. It's just bakes you. But the swing to minus 20, 40 degrees Celsius to minus 20. Well, 40's got to be what, 110 degrees or something Fahrenheit? But minus 20, isn't that like minus 20 Fahrenheit? The same number or something? That's bloody cold. Wow. But you put out with it because, I mean, if you like where you live, it doesn't really matter, does it? I think it's been 40 degrees a few times in Toronto over the years. I think I can think back to some hot summers that were unbelievably hot. But it's also been unbelievably cold. But, you know, I think the trouble is Canadians just are wimping out. I come back and they go, oh man, look how cold it is. Look, it's so cold. And I go, are you, this isn't cold. God. Cold is when you live in northern Ontario and you stop at a motel or whatever, and each motel room has a electrical plug outside the door where you park your car, so you can plug your car in so it'll start in the morning. That's cold. Oh, you're in Bulgaria and live in. Oh, you're Germany. Okay. Is Bulgaria that cold? God, I didn't know that. That's cold. That is mother cold. But that being said, I know somebody who went on a vacation to Bulgaria and Slovenia and all the places. They said it was probably the most pretty country they'd ever seen. Like the 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 the, the country itself was just, they really liked it. So it's kind of always been on a little bit on my radar to go and say, maybe I'll check that out. You know, like, because I'd like to go to, like, if I do a trip like that, go to maybe like Bulgaria and Slovenia and um, I'd like to go to the Czech Republic as well. I wouldn't mind going through Hungary, like that Eastern European experience, because I don't have any experience with those countries at all. I've never had an opportunity to go there. But one of the reasons is those countries were all Roman outposts at one time, so there's a lot of archaeology there. So you know me, I'm a trained archaeologist, and I would like to go, and it was never my field of study, so I'd like to go and look, because I've heard some really neat reports. And the Bulgar tribe is a very powerful entity for many, many years. And they now have their own country, which is cool. And have had for many, many moons. Funny, I was just looking at some history, not of Bulgaria, but Eastern European history about the. I was just reading up on some stuff that I don't. I gotta admit, I'm remiss that I don't know enough about it. But again, it's never been my field of study. But saying that, that's no excuse. But I was reading up on when the Habsburg Empire fought the Ottomans. So the Habsburg Empire encompassed Bulgaria and 140 degrees. Oh, it's 104. Oh, it's been that. Oh, -4 Fahrenheit. Oh, okay. I take it. I'm good with 104. Yeah, we've done that a lot of times in Toronto. In the -4, that's shirt sleeve weather. I thought it was like -20 below zero. 40, see, when it's -4, you can always tell. Because when you go outside and you go sniff, it freezes in the top of your nose. So you know it's always below zero when it freezes like that. The other thing is when you walk in the snow, it crunches. When the snow crunches, it's always below zero. That's how we used to tell when we were kids, and that it works. Mind you, we don't get cold like that in Toronto. Toronto's by the lake, eh? So Lake Ontario, right on Lake Ontario. And the lake effect is moderating because the lake never really gets colder than, oh, say 55, 54 degrees, something like that. That's the mean average temperature of Lake Ontario. So it's balmy compared to northern Ontario. But we get really hot, humid days here in the summer. But it's been up to that high. In fact, this past summer, I think a few days were that high. But in Germany, also, it's hot and cold. It depends where you are. Let's see. Bulgarian nature is so beautiful. We have a big side. Yeah, that's exactly what I was hearing. I know a couple of people who went on an extended tour of Eastern Europe and went through all the countries, and they came back and said to me, "You know what, man? You know what? You want to see some absolutely beautiful, and I mean beautiful countryside. You head your butt over to Eastern Europe and you take a look." So it's always been on my radar. Just when I'm going to do it, I don't know, but it's on my radar. Because I'd really like to see it. But when I go somewhere, what I do is I'm one of those guys who studies up on the history and everything first, right? So I want to. So that when I get there, there's play things I exactly want to see and do and go to places. But as I was saying, I was reading up on the Habsburgs' fight with the Ottoman Empire back in like the 16th century, and how they finally drove out the Ottomans from Europe. And I came across a really neat. How did I get into that? Oh, I know. I got asked the question. I was saying earlier, there's this site called Quora. Q. Right. Yeah. Well, I was on Quora. QUORA. If you don't know it, then if you know it, fine. But if you don't, that's what it's called, Quora. And I'm one of the guys who answers questions. And a guy asked me a question about the winged hussars out of Poland. And I know who they were because I've done a few of their miniatures. I've painted them. So I know who they are. They were Polish cavalry, but I wanted to make sure that I don't really know the history, but it intrigued me, so I sort of started looking at it. And then I got into the Habsburgs and the kings and how they drove out the infidels, the Ottomans who had for years been in that area before the Habsburg Empire. And I came across some very interesting information. And I'm going to take that and expand on it and learn more about it because it was very interesting. It's the kind of history you don't get over here, like you just don't get that. North America is Western European and North American, really. You really have to specialize in that kind of stuff to find out about it. And frankly, I know, but I don't know enough about it. So I'm going to have to read up before I go to the country. I want to know. I really want to know about the country. So there's a bunch of countries I named off, so I'm going to have to read up on each one. Because I remember being one time I was in Portugal, and they drive like really. The Portuguese. I was in Lisbon. First, I went to the Algarve, but then I went up to Lisbon, and we were actually in a place called L'Estoril, just outside Lisbon. And I knew a fair bit of history of Portugal. But what I was really interested in was the Roman history of Portugal. So I look up this site, which is like 25-30 miles from L'Estoril. So me and another guy, we go up, we head up to L'Estoril. Or not L'Estoril, we head up to this place where there's an arc. It was actually called the Mound of the Moon. They don't know why. Nobody knows why it's called the Mound of the Moon. But that's the historical name for it. And so we get there, and there's no tour guide or anything. It's just it's a site, but it isn't set up for tourists. So there's a young woman there, and she didn't speak any English. So we were asking her questions and trying to pantomime our way through it, and this is before the translators on your iPhone, all that stuff. So she finally kind of goes, well, she didn't go, yeah, I'm going to give up, but she said, like moment or whatever it was in Portuguese. So we said, okay. So she takes off, and guess who she comes back with? She comes back with the site archaeologist. No kidding. And he spoke fabulous English. and he was just finishing his lunch because he was sort of like grabbing his wiping his face off. And I said, "Oh, yeah, don't worry, no, finish your lunch. We're not in any hurry. We're tourists." Yeah. He goes, no, it's okay. I'll show you I'll go through the site with you. And we went through this site. Let me tell you, it was one of the, even though I've been on digs and stuff like that, this guy was assigned to the site from the University of, it wasn't Lisbon, northern Portugal. Santander, I think it was, yes. So his thing was, this is a site he worked on, and he'd been working on it for a long time. And he told us it was called the site of the moon, and nobody knew why. He goes, maybe, who knows? Nobody knows why. But it had gone through many different occupations, so to speak. In other words, the Romans had been there. And who else had been there? The Romans and the not Saxons. Oh God, can't remember the name. Anyway, they were the next group that came and lived around there were Christian, but the early Christian, like 6th century type of thing. So he went through the site bit by bit, and the insight that he gave us on this site was unmatchable, unmatchable. And one of the stories that I remember, which was so cool, was that there was some pillars knocked over, and they were square pillars, Roman pillars made out of marble. And on the pillars there was like little dips, like this. There were little dips, like somebody had sat on them for years and years and years and years and years. So I sort of said to him, like, it looks like people sat on these things. And he went, exactly what it is. Very good. He said, yeah, that's exactly what it was. People sat on them for years and years and years and years. I went, well, why? And he went, oh, I'll show you. And what it was we were actually looking at was sort of like, at one time it may have been indoor, but it was like an outdoor church, Christian church. And what had happened is that one of the gravesite stelae of this legionnaire who had been born in Rome but had died there. He had been pensioned off from the legion. It was all in the stelae in Latin. And he had been, he lived and died in this, around that area, wherever the town or village was in Roman time. And his family motto, this was a long time ago, before Christianity. But his family motto, not motto, but his crest, if something like that, like a family crest, was it was a cross, an actual cross, and the people who for centuries sat on these marble columns and worship thought that it had something to do with the Pope in the Vatican or something. And they had sat on these marble columns so long that there was dips, like butt dips, in the marble. And he says because there was a cross on this tombstone, if you will. I went, you got to be kidding me. He goes, no. So nobody read Latin? No, nobody read Latin. So I said they were worshiping a tombstone. Yeah. I went, Jesus. To some, it's kind of sad. Nobody ever said to him, buddy, you're worshiping a tombstone. You know? But that was a true story. And he had, so I asked him, I said, look, will this site ever be excavated? And he goes, no. I went, no? Like there was mounds, like there were huge mounds, like of stuff that needed to go. They needed to go through, really. He goes, nope. I go, why? He goes, this is Portugal. I go, yeah. He goes, well, there's so much more important sites to excavate that they'll never allocate the money for. I went, okay, but it always fascinated me. We were there just at around 5. We were there, finished talking to him around 5 o'clock, and the sun was going down, and man, you could almost feel that there was something about the place. So then, so it was running through my mind is, this was like a holy place. But what was it? What was causing that? I don't know. It kind of gave you like goosebumps or something, right? So I went, geez, oh. I always thought, you know what? If I ever find the funding to do a dig, I'll go over and I'll petition to dig it, to do it. Because it was amazing. Mind you, that's not my, that is not my field of study. My field of study is Mesoamerican history, or history and archaeology. So I'd be poaching. And I don't know if you know anything about archaeology, but one thing they don't like is poachers. They go, no, 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 no. You want to go dig? You dig in Mesoamerica. Stay the hell out of our acre of God. And that's kind of how it works in the academic world, anyway. Out. No, you're not digging. So I'd have to affiliate myself something with like a university or something that was doing it. So it's a lot of trouble and language problems. So I'm trying to tell you is it'll probably never happen. But it was really cool. It really was. And we went back to his office. And his office wasn't like some big shiny thing. It was just like a little house. It was like nothing serious, just a little workplace. And all over the place was artifacts that the farmers bring to him. And let me tell you, you should have seen this stuff. Oh my God. Roman implements, forks, knives, uh, buckles for robes, togas. And, oh God, it was just unbelievable. And I said, "Whoa, you got a lot of stuff." He goes, "Oh, no. That's just the stuff I keep here." He says, "If it's really important, I send it to the university." Oh, oh well, no grave robbing here. No, no. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have taken it. But it was really interesting and it was probably the best archaeological experience I had out from, with the exception of stuff that I did in Mesoamerica. It was amazing. The guy was so, he must have spent 3 hours with us, going from bit to bit and explaining. And Goths, that's who sat on those benches. The Goths. And it's outside my area. I do admit that. It's outside my area. Oh my God, it's 10. It's outside my area, but it's pretty good to know the history of a country for you. Oh yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I need to know it all. I need to know what I'm looking at. That's what the key is. I have to know. Don't want to go someplace and not know what I'm looking at. Case in point, I had a I have a brother-in-law. He went with his wife to Rome. They never took one tour or nothing. And when he got back, I said, "Well, how'd you like it?" He went, "It was okay." I said, "Well, what did you see?" He goes, "I don't know, some old ruins and stuff." I said to him, like, "Why did you go to Rome? Why not go to Las Vegas? At least they'll serve you drinks while you're looking at stuff that is fake, but at least they'll tell you what it is." And he got all offended. And my wife had to smooth it over, and the whole 9 yards. An idiot. Like years ago when I was young, my younger brother had this friend, and even then he was an alcoholic. Nice kid, but he was an alcoholic. He was just one of those guys was going to end his, or not end his life, but die young because he was an alkie. The way he drank, it was just, there was no hope. So he gets in his head with three of his buddies, who were also alkies, to go to Hawaii. So they all get on a plane and they fly to Hawaii. And I'd been to Hawaii. So I said to my brother, like 2 weeks later, I said, "Oh, how did so and so like Hawaii?" He goes, "Like Hawaii?" And he went, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, yeah, they went to Hawaii." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, they were right on Waikiki Beach." I went, "Oh, nice. Hey, surfing and, like the whole 9 yards. And you see like the volcano, the extinct volcano there. I mean, wow, that was nice." He goes, "They never left the room." I said, "What?" He goes, "They never left the room." I said, "How's that?" He says, "The minute they got there, they started drinking, and they never left the room the whole time." So they flew all the way to Hawaii for a drunk. What? Why not just go down into Toronto and, get yourself the best hotel that money can buy, save yourself the fare, and just lock the door of the room and just drink for a week. That's all you want to do. Like, why did you spend all the money to go to Hawaii and never leave the room? He goes, "Well, that's so and so." I went, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "You know what? He's not going to make it." He goes, "Oh, no, he's not going to make it. That's for sure." And I went, "Jeez, am I missing something here? Like, what the hell was going through his head?" The next bottle of booze, I guess. But anyway, it was sad, but that's what happened. That's what happened. I'm going a little bit later here tonight, and the reason I am because I think tomorrow. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow. There's a reason why, I think. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow evening. Hmm. There's something happening Saturday. Well, I'm going to say now that yes, I'm not going to be here Sunday, but I will be here tomorrow. As far as I know. For some reason, something is hitting my head saying there's something on for tomorrow, but I can't remember what it is, so it could be a false memory. So what I'm going to do, Ghost, is before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to go to Wiki and get an overview of Bulgaria, because I've never actually met anybody from Bulgaria, and I know I haven't met you in person, but I've talked to you for quite a bit. And I'm going to look up some history of Bulgaria. I do know that there's a lot of Roman. I think a lot of Roman history is part of the overall stuff you had to do when I was in school. And so I do know it's there, but I want to see the history. Kind of interesting to me. That's what I do. I get onto a place and then I research the living hell out of it, just because I can. Because lo and behold, I have the biggest research equipment in the entire world, and it costs next to nothing. It's called the internet. The trick is knowing what's real and what isn't. And I'm pretty good at that. I know when I'm being lied to. So I don't look at the politics and I don't look at all that crap. I just look at the history. And usually, you know, unless it's a country that doesn't exist anymore, the history is usually pretty accurate, or give or take. You know, I mean, no history is completely accurate, but it gives you the overall, and that's kind of what I'm looking like. That's what I want to see, because I did buy some Roman arrowheads one time, and they were from not Bulgaria, but they were very close to that area. And you know, you think Rome, Italy? No, Roman Empire, right? So I want to see, but you know, there's so much rich history, and it's sad that nobody. You know, as you get older, you realize what you don't know, right? And that's kind of like the way it is. What you don't know is mountain stuff. And then you realize that, you know, a lot of what you read's all BS. If it's political. Because to the victors go the spoils, right? To the victors go the actual way to interpret events. Anybody who's educated knows that. It's never truth. Never. Because you're seeing the people who won, or the people who were the victors. And those people have no interest in telling you what really happened. Sometimes it can cause mega problems. I was on another cruise one time, and I was doing my drawing up on the Lido deck again. And no matter when you sit down to draw, if you're doing drawing, people tend to sort of gather around just to watch it, right? I mean, they're soaking up the sun, they want to see what it is, and you know, they'll quietly try to ask you a question, which is fine. Once they find out you're not going to bite your head off, then you usually have questions they want to ask you. So I always accommodate people that way. If I'm on a cruise or something, I don't really care. People want to know, I'll tell them. But anyway, I'm on this cruise, and I look over, and it's a big boat. Make no mistake, this is a major size cruise line, huge. And But I noticed on the Lido deck, not in the corners, but like in the shade, underneath like the overhangs and stuff, there were people there smoking hookahs. Do you know what a hookah is? You know the water pipe thing? That kind of thing? You know, like water pipe? Cool, if you know some stuff. Yeah, don't worry. By the time I come back early next week, and next time you talk to me, I'll be asking questions about Bulgaria. It's just the way I am. It really is. It's just the way I am. There's no fighting it. I gave up the fight long ago. Just the way my brain works. As soon as I get something in my head, I got to find out everything I possibly can about it. Then I verify facts with people who live there. Now, I don't necessarily mean that you would know some of the stuff I would ask, only because mostly of my questions are historical in nature, and it's nothing to do. And I don't mean recent history. I mean like ancient history. Those, if it's not, I don't ask political questions. I don't ask any of that stuff. I'm looking really at ancient history, or from like the 16th century. I'm talking. Because the modern politics, I just can't be bothered. It just doesn't make a difference or anything. Real simple. Leave me alone with my internet. Let me do my stuff. Let me do my art, and I won't bug you. You don't bug me. It's as simple as that. You want to see some art? No problem. You don't want to see some art? No problem. But anyway, back to the story. So I'm on this boat, this big, massive boat. I see these guys with water pipes, and they're dressed like from the 100 years ago, like the baggy pants and all that. I'm going, what in God's name? Like, and nobody's saying anything to them either. Like no smoking. Like, I'm sure you can go out on the deck and smoke, but this was on the Lido deck, and I didn't care. It didn't make any difference to me, but they were smoking, sitting around. They all have a tube, right? And they just take a hit off the hookah. So I kind of figured, well, they're not smoking hashish or anything. It must be something else going on. So this girl sits down, and she loves art, and she's from Toronto, and she's on this cruise. And I say, what gives with the guys sitting over there? She says, oh, you didn't know? I go, no, what? She goes, oh, this is our 12th anniversary of not Macedonia. Um, I'm telling you a story, and it just fell out of my head. Oh, sorry, Armenians. And I go, oh, like a group? And she goes, yes, yes, we're a very large organization. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know that existed. And she goes, oh, yeah, yeah. You wouldn't know unless you're Armenia, which is true. And I said, um, well, we got around, like, what's the reason? Like, what's the basis of the group? Is it like a social group, or is it like a? She goes, oh no, nothing like that. I said, well, it's a social group. Because she goes, oh no, it's a social group, but that's not the reason for the organization. I go, oh, okay. So politely, I kind of went like, tell me more. Like what's the deal? And she goes, oh, we're celebrating. We all meet because of the massacre of 1 million Armenians by the Turks in, I don't know, 1915 or 19 something. I don't really know a lot about this because I'm not Armenian, I'm not Turkish, and I don't have any field of study over there. I go, Oh, so I'm completely at a loss. I go, well, well, at the time it was not quite, but it was getting close to 100 years ago. I said, but isn't it like 100 years ago? She goes, oh yeah. I said, how old, like, how old are you? In a polite way. And she goes, oh, I'm like she was in her 30s. I said, but isn't everybody kind of is dead from that, like, who even remembers that stuff? Oh, yes, but we must keep the memory alive. I went, oh. Now, I agree. If this is true, and I don't know if it is, because everything I read seems to have a slightly different take on it. But here's people, like 100 years later, still fighting this expulsion by the Turks. Now, if the Turks did that, man, that is beyond contemptible. But there's nobody alive to, like, go after. Does that make sense? Like, there's nobody alive today who had anything to do with any of that. And and that was kind of my point, like, that there's nobody alive. And she didn't take any offense to that. She simply said, no, but that's our culture and our heritage. And we choose to keep the memory alive. I said, I can understand that. I understand that. But I thought, my God. Because I always go back to a story I once read about this family, this very rich Victorian family in London, England. They were filthy rich like Midas rich. So after you get that rich, you realize no matter what, someday you're going to die. That's just the way it is. Someday you're going to die. Well, that wasn't good enough for them. So what the guy did, this is like 1830 or 1840. So what the patron of the family did, he set up a fund in perpetuity in order to maintain the gravesite of his family. So no matter what happened, no matter what, there'd be money there to take care of the grave, weed it, whatever you have to do to take care of a grave. I don't know what you have to do, but anyway, you have to do that. But the money was there, and he put all this money into an account to do that. Now, the only reason that anybody even knows about this is somebody, I don't remember, this is a long time ago, but somebody came across some documentation that showed that this had happened. This fellow had done this. So I guess it piqued their interest, and they went looking for the family plot. Well, believe it or not, they found the family plot, and it had suffered badly. Stones were broken in half, the whole 9 yards, like, gone. Nobody knew, nobody remembered who they were, nobody remembered anything. The account had been emptied many years later, like in the early 1920s or something, I guess by a relative who needed the cash and figured out a way to get at it. And the best laid plans were completely, well, not carried out by any means. There was no money. And then, oh, I do remember. Okay, yeah. The City of London wanted this property. So they had to find out who was there, who it belonged to, yada, 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 that kind of stuff. That's what it was. So this person had done the research and came back and said, well, they couldn't find any living relatives that were even remotely connected to these people. So that would give them instant leeway, right, to just bulldoze it and make it into a highway or whatever they were going to do. And that's exactly what happened. And I always remember that story because it's so true. It's like the guy I was talking about in Portugal, where the people thought it had something to do with Christianity and were worshiping his tombstone for years. It just nothing. Like give it a century too, it's gone. It really is gone. And I mean, I understand, if people are still alive, but if everybody's dead, what is the point? I'm like, I mean, it's not like there's no Armenians. I mean, the culture survived. They're still there, but I'm not being critical. I don't mean that in a critical way, but I'm going like, you know, there's better ways to spend your time. Now, maybe she wasn't giving me the whole truth. It could have been that it was more of a social club, but the reason behind it, maybe a lot of the younger people didn't even know about it, or it could have been that. I don't know. She was a nice girl, though, so I just rode with the tide, so to speak. But I always remembered that family in London, thinking, if you only knew, you're now a highway. Oops, sorry, old chap, but we needed the roadway, don't you know? We needed it badly, so we had to cut your tomb. And the truth is, there's nothing left, right? They ever tell you they found? Do you remember the story Mutiny on the Bounty? It was a famous movie, and they made it Mutiny on the Bounty. They made two movies. They made one with Charles Laughton in it, who played Captain Bligh, and then they made one with they made another one. Anthony Hopkins played Captain Bligh. I can't remember who played Fletcher Christian. This is like the Fletcher Christian, who they escaped from the Tahitian Islands, and they got to um, an island and burned the ship, Pitcairn Island, and they were found like years and years later, and there was like one guy left, and there was like 30 women because they stole the women from the Tahitians and took off. There was like 30 women and like one guy left, and he was so old that they couldn't remember. The reason why this is a little interesting is because they had developed some diseases that were genetic. So, having been isolated for so long, they were interesting in terms of study for people with genetic diseases at the time. I'm sure they don't bother with that stuff anymore because they have DNA and all that stuff, right? So you don't have to waste your time. But at the time, and then they found the bounty, then they looked at it, and it was a big popular movie with Marlon Brando and whatnot, and people really wanted to know about the mutiny on the Bounty. Well, Bligh, the captain, he was rather maligned, and his career did not end with the mutiny on the Bounty. He was an unbelievable seaman too. He got the whole crew of them back to um, Mexico or someplace on the Pacific side of Mexico. He got them back thousands of miles. They traveled in a small boat. A lot of them died, but he made it. He got them all back. It was probably one of the greatest engineering, or not engineering, but navigation skills that were ever realized. But anyway, he was scolded by the Admiralty for being an overly, um, overly harsh, and they did catch a number of them and brought them back to England to be hanged. Now, they weren't all hanged, and Fletcher Christian was never found. They think he was killed by one of the Polynesians or one of his own men, who knows. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this is because they found Captain Bligh's tomb. They had no idea where it was. Funny enough, when I was in London back 2 years ago, I was going to the Imperial War Museum. And what I did was I took the subway, and in London the subway is really, really, really deep. I mean, you take a huge elevator to the surface. So you had to go a certain way, so we went up, and I went up and looked and took a look, and we were walking. Me and my friend George were walking across down the street. I just happened to look to the left, and I see this plaque on a house, just a normal, nice house, like a Georgian house, but it was a nice house, but it wasn't a mansion or anything. And it said, "The home of William Bligh of Mutiny on the Bounty fame." So I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. But it stuck in my head because I knew the story, but it wasn't that outside of Pitcairn Island and moving all the people off Pitcairn, and then some came back, and the people followed the story, and they went to another island which is north of Australia, or oh, maybe north of New Zealand, Norfolk Island. That's where they settled. Anyway, so I had a fair little bit of interest in this, so I read this report of they had found a crypt outside of a normal cemetery or on the edge of a cemetery, something like that. So anyway, what I did was I read it with interest, obviously, because I was interested. And when they popped the crypt open, it was airtight, airtight, which is amazing. So in other words, there had been no atmosphere leak into it since the day they sealed the crypt. And there on a slab, no coffin, just on a slab, was William Bligh. And beside him was his wife. And there had hardly been any decomposition at all because it was airtight. And the guy said, I really felt like I was in a tomb and I shouldn't be disturbing them. So they sealed it back up, put a marker on where it was on the city thing, took a look, and he's still there. I thought that's kind of cool, like I would have loved to have opened that tomb. I really would have. I mean, and the guy went on to incredible service in the British Navy. I mean, really, he was considered one of the greatest captains who ever lived. But he's known for, yes, mutiny on the Bounty. Of course he is. The rest of his service, nobody cares or knows about. It's mutiny on the Bounty they're interested in. So I read up on him, and yeah, he was an incredible guy. Maybe a disciplinarian, but then again, who knows? Maybe the crew was a bunch of um, miscreants. You know? Who knows? Maybe it was such a problem that he had to be extra harsh. Who knows? Nobody will ever know. Maybe he was too much of a disciplinarian, which was the Admiralty says. I think you carried it a little bit too far, Captain Bligh. Anyway, he made Admiral in the whole 9 yards, and nobody ever held it against him. But then again, it wasn't a big story until Mutiny on the Bounty came out, and then everybody went, who's this? And then popular culture took over, and now they think they know who this guy was, and they really don't. Which is how it happens, right? How it happens. Mind you, the most amazing discovery, I think, in the last 10 years, outside of Otzi in Austria, has to be finding King Richard in a parking lot. My God, what are the odds? One with a humpback, you know? Like, holy Moses. Like, that's got to be like a miracle. But they found him, and they verified it. It's him. Which is, to me, I mean, he had Irish in him. Might be luck of the Irish or something, maybe. I don't know. He had no Irish. I know. But anyway, they found him, and he's there. And I would say too that the was the explorer ship that disappeared in Northwest Passage. God, I can't talk. The Northwest Passage. The oh man, the God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, they disappeared. They finally found the ship a year or so ago. But a few years prior, they had found one of the crewmen who had died, and they had buried in the ice. And let me tell you, no composition hardly at all. They were able to do an autopsy and discover that he had high levels of lead in his system. They think the lead, well, they know the lead. The lead was used to solder the top of cans, you know, like so you had canned goods, so you could take stored peaches and stuff so you wouldn't get scurvy and whatnot. And they had that, but they think because of the lead, they ended up with some lead poisoning and it killed them, which is possible, very possible. Anyway, he was amazingly preserved. Luckily, sometime later, they found the guys with the two who had the virus still in them from the Spanish flu, 1918. Does anybody know anything about that? Well, if you don't, you should look, because be on your guard. The Spanish flu killed anywhere from 40 to 60 million. That's million with an M people. and then the virus disappeared. A lot of viruses, have disappeared. There was a virus in the Middle Ages when King Henry VIII was the ruler in England, and it was called the sweating sickness. It came and went for over about 20, 30 years. Pleb chat. Oh, okay. Well, here we got some information. Let me refocus my eyes, Scott. Let's see. Well, I reckon sailing directly to Dutch Shelmwood in Timor. Oh, okay. Using ration on board was journeys of 3,500 nautical miles beyond the Endeavour Strait, and it would necessitate daily rations of an ounce of bread and a quarter of a pint of water for each man. The plan was unanimously agreed. Well, let me tell you, you're sitting on a little boat and you can take 3,500 nautical miles with maybe, I don't know, 8, 10 guys in the boat. You gotta hand it to him. Was he a sailor or was he a sailor? Wow. An open boat too, not like a yacht, like an open little, like 24-foot boat with oars and mast. Oh God, man. But he went on to an illustrious career. He certainly did. Illustrious. And you gotta feel for a guy, I mean, if he was alive today, you'd go, hey, wait a minute here now, like, come on. There was extenuating circumstances, like, what about the rest of my life? Yeah, well, they don't care about that. They watch the movie. Which is so true. You know, if you ever ask anybody about something historical, 9 times out of 10 I have found that the first thing they start telling you about is what they saw in a movie. Well, let me tell you. You know, man. And this transcends to problems we have to this day. For instance, in Canada, I wouldn't say they're big problems, but we have the Aboriginals, First Nations people. And most of them get all their history from movies. That's what they think. There's a guy in Facebook who's Indian, First Nations, and he drew a map, or he had found a map of the First Nations people for, just after the 13 colonies. And everybody was saying, yeah, that's the way the map should look. That's the people who own the land. Yeah. So I made a little comment and said, well, the map really doesn't mean that much because it was fluid. Like what you're putting down as areas and territories. It really was a fluid territory and map. Well, oh my God, did he give me a blast? What are you talking about? This is a First Nations that have stolen this stuff. Yeah. So I sent back a note to him. I said, look, will you calm down? I said, this is what I'm saying. He said, you've got the the Iroquois in this area that you call that's Iroquois land. Well, the Iroquois were made up of 6 different nations, they call them. like the Mohawks, Onega and Onega, number of different, and they basically um, made themselves into like a confederacy of nations, and they did that for protection. And the reason they did it was because their sworn enemies, I mean this, their sworn enemies were the Huron Indians who lived north of Lake Ontario near Georgian Bay. So the Hurons would come down to raid the Iroquois, steal slaves, steal women, steal well, wouldn't be any horses yet. Anyway, steal slaves, steal goods, steal whatever they wanted to steal, and they'd hightail it back. And the Hurons figured, man, we got it made. And why did they think that? Because the French enlisted the Hurons to help them against the British. So the Hurons figured, well, you know what? This is a good time for expansion. We'll expand our territory. So, what they did, they started not only raiding, but invading Iroquois lands. What's an Iroquois to do? Well, they quickly figured out the best thing to do, since they kind of knew there was a war in Europe, which was the Napoleon, and Napoleon was kicking everybody's butt, and he basically looked like he would just Europe would be French under Napoleon. And they said, well, the only way people we can get that he hasn't really already invaded and conquered is the British, who just happened to be in lower New York State, sorry, upper New York, by New York City. Anyway, the 13 colonies. So they went down there and pleaded their case, and the Brits said, no, you're our ally. So if you get attacked, we'll help. Which led kind of to the War of 1812 in a little mysterious way, but it did. Between Canada and the United States. Or, well, not really. It was between the United States, well, Britain and Canada under the French. The War of 1812. So what happened was the Hurons basically were usurping land that was really controlled by the Iroquois. Why? They wanted more game, they wanted more resources, what they needed. You know, they were a hunter society, and they also were a society, they planted crops, good arable land down there. So away they went, and they ran snap dab into the Iroquois, who were backed by the Brits. So the French and the Brits had a reason to duke it out, and duke it out they did. They really duked it out. French for a long time had the British on their heels, because Britain was having to fight Napoleon, protect their the high seas. They still had the ocean because they had their navy. But the French navy was no slouch, you know, like they say, you know, Admiral Lord Nelson, the Lord Nelson, the winner of the Battle of the Nile and Trafalgar and all that stuff, the Earl of Bronte, or the Duke of Bronte. Yes, that Lord Nelson. the hero of the British Empire, the guy who was shot by a sniper, whose last words were, "Fitzroy, please don't throw me overboard." Because when they did, like when you were killed in those boats, they just threw you through a cannon porthole out in the ocean. Sharks loved it. Anyway, they didn't. They stuck him in a barrel of, I think it was rum or something, or wine, I don't know, to preserve him so they could get him back to Britain and give him a state funeral. But what they don't bother to tell you is, and God only knows, well, again, the Brits won, so they're the ones who wrote the history, was that Napoleon's fleet, before they fought the Battle of Trafalgar, had been waylaid by cholera and dysentery in a Spanish port town. And like half his men were so sick they couldn't stand up. And who appears to fight? Why, it's Nelson. Who wins the fight? Nelson. Who did he fight? A whole bunch of sick guys. Now, did he win? Yeah. Of course he won. Find that in your history book. It's there, but you gotta look for it. You go to like a regular history book, they don't mention that. They don't mention that at all. Why? It doesn't fit the narrative. It just doesn't fit. You can't tell people that. No, of course you can't. It would ruin a great story. But it's the truth. What's the truth got to do with that? Ugh. Oh my God. Well, it looks like I finally found a pencil that is broken so badly. I'm going to give it one more shot with my little hand sharpener. Then it's going to go pencil heaven. Oh, bye. Hasta la vista. I'll give you the cross just in case you're a Christian. Okay. So I haven't got mineral orange, which sucks. Now I gotta blend the color together. Blast you. Well, now you're gonna get. That's done. I needed mineral orange. It betrayed me by breaking. And I take that betrayal seriously. How dare you break on? Dare you? I gotta put a shadow on. There we go. Oh. So what do you think, guys? Is it looking good? 6 nations. What did I say? Oh, there they are. Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, yeah. Cayuga, I should have known that one. Seneca, I should have known that one. Tuscarora, really? I thought Tuscarora were Tuscarora. Oh. I'm confusing them with Tuscarora, which were like Apaches or something. Or they're not Apaches, they're Comanches. Tuscarora? But it must be just a similar wording. So there's the 6 nations. Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. Tuscarora. Very, very very, very tough hombres. And they fought well for the Brits. They sure did. Oh, and by the way, after they did beat back the French, after a while, and the French kind of abandoned Huron, the Huron nation was almost completely obliterated by smallpox, brought to them by Jesuit missionary. Yes, the same one that the Pope John Paul visited in Saint Marie amongst Hurons for to give sainthood to one of the Jesuits who were there. Never once saying, "We're sorry we brought smallpox to you and wiped you out." Didn't wipe every one of them out, but what happened is that they weakened the tribes so badly that when the Iroquois came in, they just walked right over. So today there's some Hurons still there, northern around Georgian Bay, but not a lot. Most of them moved towards Quebec and resettled, became parts of other tribes. It would have been an interesting time to live. Don't know if you'd consider it would be a long time. But I had ancestors that lived then, because my French ancestors came to Gaspé from Normandy. They launched out of Normandy. I mean, they weren't necessarily Normans, they were French. And they landed in Gaspé in 1610. So they would have been around. And they were traced back. They were, a lot of them were, worked for the Hudson's Bay Company. And they were what they used to call coureurs de bois, which meant they left Montreal in the spring and they paddled the Great Lakes and portaged them and made their way to around Churchill, Manitoba, or Winnipeg is right now, that area. And they would get furs, would have furs, and they would trade for the furs. They like hatchets and stuff the Indians really thought they were useful to them, and they were. And then they would load up their freighter canoes in the spring and they would come back. And one of the reasons, as I mentioned earlier, that I got my ancestry done was because I wondered if somewhere on the French side that there might have been Métis. Now, Métis were Indians who basically became half French, half Indian, and to this day they still live in Manitoba. But I was wondering if, because just before my grandmother died, who was born like in 1880, who had some excellent records of family history, told me about these terrible, the shame of the family It was shame. It was absolute, just shameful. I said, "Oh, really? That sounds interesting, Grandma." Used to call her Mamma. Tell me about it. As well, you had you had relations. I said, yes. Who would leave Montreal and go to get furs and come back. They went west. They would come back every spring. Then they would stay and then they would go again. I said, okay, I hear you. What is the terrible secret? Well, well, it's a secret. Tell me. I miss that, Ghost. You get this? I see you too, man. I bet we're calling it a day. Anyway. But she said they were married. They had wives. They did not marry. I said, really? And she went, yes. They were married to Indians. Tell me it ain't so. Tell me these guys were faithful to their wives in Montreal when they were gone all the time out to Manitoba to get furs. Yes. Disgusting. And had good women, good wives in Montreal. And I went, wow. So this would have been around 1970, whatever. And this had happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And still, that day, there was a person alive, my grandmother, who thought they were scumbags. The ingloriousness of it all. This is being finished, by the way. If I can find out what's going on tomorrow, but it will be finished tomorrow night. Painted a lot today, right across. I'm hoping it's looking good to you, because I think he looks really cool. But he will look even better when I get the highlighting on him from the acrylic. He's going to look super cool. Super, super cool. But that is it for tonight, folks. Scott, if that's you, I'm going to bed, man. I hope you enjoyed tonight's drawing. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And I will say goodnight. You have a great weekend. Even you, Ghost, even though you're way into your weekend now. The weekend's starting in about an hour. So enjoy. Have a good one. Good night. Okay. I'm here tomorrow. No worries. I'm not going anywhere. There's no reason tomorrow I'm not on for 7 o'clock. I can't think of anything. But anyway, unless something goes wrong with the update. But Scott, good night. I am starting to yawn. Oh, have a good one.